Seeing this project and the idea of a divided city in the UK, for me it was very interesting because, you know, the issues behind it, the reasons for its division, and of course my approach to it would be very different, but at the same time there was always this memory for me about what a divided city means, in political terms, social terms, and in personal terms for the actual residents. And I have to say, I mean, I've said it many times, and it's there in the statement, that really I'm quite embarrassed by my own prejudices, I would say, before coming here. I've never been to Hull before we had our first interview for the project. And to be honest, in my professional work in film and photography, never had that much interest. You know, the UK was something I really overlooked. Most of my work is in the Middle East and North Africa, and so I came here and expected something very different. I mean, I really, I guess, swallowed the Hull's reputation whole. And I didn't expect, for example, to meet people who were very open. I didn't expect to meet people who were very welcoming, who actually wanted to discuss some of these issues that I had about their relationship to the city, the divisions in the city. And something that really surprised me was that you know, in London, I think people believe that they're in a very cosmopolitan international city. And one way that they do that, they express that, is by always asking you where you're from. And it was only when I came here and almost nobody asked me where I was from, even though I'm even more obviously not from Hull than I am not from London, that I realized there's this sort of false economy, right, in asking someone where you're from in London, and really interrogating their background. There's actually something very alienating about it, right? So sure, you can prove that you're interested in cultures internationally and maybe drop a few names about Palestinian poets that you know or politicians, but really what you're saying is, well, you're not from here, so tell me about where you are from. And here nobody did that. I found it very surprising, because they really just interacted with me at face value. Not only is there a reputation that Hull has, and I'm sure that's known to everyone here, I don't think that's a mystery, but there's also something about the character of the city that I think is, in a way quite wounded, right? It's a city that I think, at least in my imagination, had a very noble history, and it has a lot of elements that I'm very fascinated by, maybe in a very nostalgic way for me. The connection to the sea, for example, the connection with William Wilberforce. Those are things that I find very moving, personally. And yet, you know, to see that's lost that strength in its past, and yet somehow it still retains these little bits and pieces, these connections with it. And that's really, for me, the fascination of the project. Is I came here with no knowledge of the city, and I said, well, what does it make me think of? It makes me think of fishing, so a lot of these are related to the docks and the connection to the sea. It makes me think of milling and bread. It makes me think of working men's clubs, like the picture of Bob behind you. You know, it makes me think of these things that I know nothing about, because they're not connected to my family history and background at all. And ultimately there was really a kind of jealousy or an envy, because, you know, people, it's very rare that I meet people who were born in a city, grew up there their entire lives, know it like the back of their hand, and really identify with it. And of course, as the child of a refugee, that's an impossibility for me to ever experience that.